at a point right now where this thing ain't going to be solved on Facebook. It's not going to be solved on Twitter. I have seen talk radio impact things in the past, but that's superficial government stuff. Bills here or there. You're talking about true change that comes from forcing people who have different opinions and different issues and different worldviews that have now turned and manifested into hatred, forcing people to sit together in an area in which they can't control the scene, in which they can't turn to force, they can't turn to power, they can't turn to control. And unfortunately, we may be at a point right now where it's too deep and the knots are tied too tightly. Because you can look at it, as much as I would say don't, and suggest and hope that you move away from it. Unfortunately, there have been lines that have been drawn by people. And you do look at certain scenarios either from the inside or the outside. See, all I can do is tell you. I can't express and I can't relate unless I'm living it. And what's happened is that we have got so many smaller sub-communities inside this big, larger community here in this country that what happens is now little things will manifest and blow up, and lines are drawn and everything is polarized. And you have to make a decision. You have to choose. And it went from a line where you have to choose, and you have to either be on the right or on the left. And you have to choose this way or the other way. Now it's gotten to the point, and this is unfortunately what we see as a result of things like social media, but it's gotten to the point where you have to make your decision before things even come out. Where all we get is a tweet, a little blurb, and you must make your decision now. There's no more waiting. And it doesn't matter at this point. As long as you're feeling empathy is the place to start. Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, the police officers who were murdered in cold blood in Dallas. It's not about drawing a line. It's not about what side you're on. It's about recognizing where we're going. You want to draw a line? All right, we just had a man on who served in this country. You want to look at the logical progression of where things are going? It's martial law. It's looking around the world and seeing when things in what perceived to be civilized areas, when things go to crap. And what happens? Police forces get replaced. We've already seen that. You've already seen the videos and the still shots of what looked to be armed forces members, right? But they were police officers because of the amount of equipment and the amount of artillery. It's going to happen. We're getting closer to that than we are this thing being solved, are we not? I mean, look at where we are right now today, and look at how we're reacting to things. To where, again, if it's just a person who is pulled over and has every single constitutional right to own that weapon that he had and was murdered, or if it's a police officer who's giving his life and then gave his life. There was a shot of which a Dallas police officer was shot, like a still shot I meant, of him being shot hovering over protesters. And it's just a glimpse. It's not about pro or con right there. That's just a glimpse into humanity at its best. What we should stand for at its best. And all I'm doing is talking words into a mic. Because at 2 o'clock, I'm going to leave and do updates for Mike, and I don't know what I've changed, if anything at all. The same thing on Twitter. I can put a hashtag, and I can retweet a hashtag, and I can retweet a video. But nothing changes until you physically put people in a position where they are forced to deal with them being uncomfortable. That's the only way. And the best of the best that walked this planet did it in a peaceful manner. They did it in a way in which they caused mostly the ruling majority and the people who are benefiting from the ruling majority to take a deeper look at that, to look inside, to question what's happening. If it's King, if it's X, if it's Gandhi, if it's Mayer, we've seen it. To where people have shown that they don't have to have a gun right in your face and say, you better change or else. We can put people together. We have the capability of doing it. Instead, we try to solve things on Twitter. Instead, we try. Look at Kevin Durant's account, okay? I'll give you a perfect example. Richard Deitch retweeted it. Durant puts a statement out, which he has every single statement to make, a right to make that statement about what's happened recently with the 2 black men who were murdered by police. He makes a statement about that. And then the very first thing that happens, a response is a shot at him from like a verified account with like 155,000 followers. A verified account comes right back him and makes a joke about him not winning a ring. And you expect me to take that medium seriously? You expect me to take your opinions on Facebook seriously? I'll take your opinions when we start talking. And the first step is right here on the radio. The next step is when we get people together in a room. And I'm not talking about a Maury Povich episode. I'm talking about truly getting people that are interested in change. Because what we are right now is a society of an echo chamber. We're a society of retweets and favorites. That's it. I say something on Twitter, and all I'm expecting is the people that follow me to like and know me and retweet it so I can get more retweets. And the people that challenge that statement get fought back. It doesn't matter what the celebrity is that puts that tweet out. It doesn't matter if it's a talking head. It doesn't matter if it's an egg with 60 followers. What happens is somebody puts a statement out. And it's designed to reinforce what people who follow you already believe. Nobody is putting a challenging statement out with the intent of dialogue anymore. You don't need to go down to a local government building and do anything anymore because you can just tweet and just text us, hey, yo, retweet that, man, retweet that. It's not going to change at that point. And you can't sit here and tell me that we are closer to fixing this thing than we are just Big Brother taking over and saying, sorry, guys, sorry, but you couldn't do it. And we don't want to lose the country, so something's going to happen. And I'm going to sit back like the rest of you thinking, my God, this is the worst possible scenario that could be. To where we no longer have the benefit or the privilege to be in a situation where we can say there is sincere mistrust of the police community in certain other communities. We don't even have the privilege with martial law anymore with that. Now it's just military rule. And save me that, hey, it happened elsewhere, but it's not going to happen here. People who say that are the ones that get rolled over. And when you look back in history, it's the ones that said that about anything else that was any other atrocity. Well, it happened over there, but it's not going to happen to me. It came from him, but they're not going to come for me. Mark is next up on the Fanatic. Mark?
I just wanted to, I guess, go off a little bit about what you were talking earlier, Eitan, and what that serviceman was talking about earlier. And one of the things that struck out to me is while there will always be differences among certain communities, whether it be the black community or the white community or the police community or the LGBT community or whatever have you, those differences will always make us different. They're always going to exist. And one of the things that I've always focused on is focusing on commonalities between groups, because as much as those differences may exist, as much as people may fight and argue and debate and be angry about certain differences over others and the way certain people are treated over others, when you find those commonalities, when you find that common ground, is when people realize that for all of the differences out there in the world, is that each and every single person is still just that. It's still a person with loved ones, with interests, with ideals, with goals. And when you have that happening, and this is one of the reasons that I absolutely adore sports, is because you'll bring people from all over, either a certain area more likely than not, but all over who are of very different backgrounds, who have very different life experiences, rooting for this one cause, for this one team. And I mean, like, for me, like, I've always been an idealist in that regard. A lot of people are going to think that it's a little too up there in terms of where we are currently now as a society. But I think that, like, focusing on those commonalities, having those sharing moments, those binding moments, it's going to help. I don't want to say it brings us together. I think that...
But I get what you're saying, Mark. It's a start, but and I hate to even use the word "but" here. I wonder how much of this is not you, but how much of this is just being idealist versus how much of this can we really change? I mean, yeah, I get it. It does come down to being as superficial as killing somebody over their skin color, but we've been killing people over superficial stuff since religion, or I don't like the way you look at me, or you stole my girlfriend, stupid stuff.
Right, and even so much as to that regard, when right now, and I saw this in a post earlier today, is that one of the reasons why things have been getting worse and worse and worse is this isn't a new thing that's been happening. It's been a thing that's been happening for generations.
Sure.
But now, and this is going off what you were saying earlier, is that because of the way that media and reporting has evolved to a way where everything is instantaneous, where everything is an impatient click, now we've got this society that focuses basically on whatever bad comes out. The new thing that comes out, okay, we're more aware of it, and now that people are becoming more aware of it, now that people are saying, look, it's happening on video, and there are people who are still arguing against it.
You're right, Mark. Good phone call, man. I appreciate this type of dialogue, because I know that it's a tough time right now. It's a tough day. And maybe it's just coincidental where we are right now as far as the sports scene here in Philadelphia, but I recognize that. The problem that I have, and I've been fighting this battle for so long, because we get trapped with our terminology. And if you're familiar with this conversation, you might have heard me have it before on the radio, so forgive me, but clearly we need to continue to have it. What happens is we get trapped. We use words and we think that we have the meaning. And listen, I'm guilty of it too. But when it comes to specific things that shape worldviews, I'm not talking about just getting the wrong definition of a word that I'll use on the air and checking with Mosher on the weekend. Like, yeah, did I use that right? I'm saying words that we use every day in our conversation that shape our worldview. And I'll give you a perfect example. The term race is socially constructed. Read Diop. Read Linnaeus. You can see that through medical science, the ability to, with blood transfusions and based on different areas of the planet in which humans migrated to, different changes happen to the body. And specifically, we have proof through medical science that the further away you are from the equator, the lighter your skin will be. And still, we have evidence through not only archaeology, but medical science that has tested the bones, where if you don't believe that at one point Pangea existed, I don't know what else I can tell you, which is that there was one landmass, and then through the planet evolving and all the different things that's happened, earthquakes and whatnot, we've seen land break up. Because no matter where you are on this planet, if you find the oldest fossil of a human being found in any region, it all is the same. It all dates back to the Twa, which has then been misconstrued as pygmy, which is one of the first that we have dated societies in Africa. Open heart transplants. They had elevators. Check it out. Read it. It's there. Something has happened now in which we're more aware of it because, as you said, Mark, we're on social media and we're on video and everything. But we still are trapped. We've been trapped by our terminology. It's not a race issue. It's not racial. It's color. And again, that doesn't solve it. Everybody replacing the word color with race, the word race with color doesn't end our problems. You understand me? It doesn't automatically solve issues that we're having. But we begin to start to see each other as something much more true and real, which is, okay, you have a different skin color than me because it's something that's superficial and it's something that's arbitrary on the outside that's impacted by my climate and my geography. You are not that inherently different than me when I use the word race. When you use the term race, what you are basically defining is that there is an inherent difference inside. But the reality is that, and I don't mean to go JT on you here, and I'm not, trust me, I'm not, is that from an internal medical science standpoint, the human body works the same no matter if you're black, brown, bright red, white, whatever on the outside. That doesn't change. So I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the answer is outside of putting people who have an issue with somebody else in a position where they can't control it, but they have to address it. They have to address it. Okay? So if you have, I don't even want to give examples, man. I don't even want to give examples anymore because it's right there in front of you. So I'm not going to try to single out a community, and I'm not going to try to single out a profession. Because there are black cops that are dealing with stuff today that I'm sure nobody outside of them can comprehend and empathize with. So I understand that every single sub-community has certain things that they're going through that the other communities just can't empathize with. And I think that we are reaching a point generally in our society where we're starting to becoming more aware of that, to where it's not like, come on, equal playing field. It's not like, I don't have to deal with that. Why should you? That conversation has moved away some, which is good. That does show progress. But all we have right now, words, hashtags, retweets and favorites, and Facebook posts. And maybe a push for the same system, the same government. Again, you have faith that the same government that's been overseeing this and the same issues that we're having is going to come in here and mop it up and clean it up overnight? They're waiting. They're waiting for us to self-destruct. And unfortunately, I'm looking at it right now thinking it's inevitable. I don't know another solution at this point. I do believe inherently that when you break a human being down, we are good. We have the potential to be evil. We have the potential to be asses, to be jerks, to be you-know-whats. We have all of that potential. But I think that if you ever find yourself in just a human being type situation where it's you and somebody else, and all right, you don't have any cameras around, you don't have any other people around, it's maybe you're helping somebody, maybe you could open the door for just something on the day-to-day where you have an interaction with another human being. Or even if you are in a position where you need help. And it could be just, hey, can you hold the door for me? Can you help me with a flat tire? Can you give me $1 because I'm out of change, I need to get home, or I'm thirsty? Whatever it may be. But if you've been in a situation, I feel like and maybe this is my experience, but that's what I get, that we ultimately want to be good. As a society, and I'm not just talking about in America, but in this planet that we live on, we want to be good. But unfortunately, we belong to sub-societies of the global one with different countries, and we have people that have their own interests that represent us as a whole, as an entirety. And I can tell you, okay, just because you are either from different parts of this world or have family that are from different parts of this world, okay, you are either from Afghanistan or have family from Afghanistan. And I'm speaking for you in this, and I'm saying that, yeah, there may be bombs and drones being dropped, but people there don't want that. Just like people here don't want that. We have all on this planet settled for a small percentage, a tiny minority of people to speak for all of us. And this is part of the aftermath from it. And it pains me to see these videos on Twitter. It pains me, man. I couldn't believe it. The Philando video was the first time that I've ever cried watching something on Twitter, on Facebook, watching a video and shed tears from it. The emotion was that strong. So what do we do? What do we do? We have to talk. We have to have a conversation in which I can't simply hang up on you, or I simply can't block or mute you or unfriend you. Have to be in an environment, a situation right here where people are forced to deal with how they're uncomfortable and why they're uncomfortable. And I don't care what skin color you are. I don't care what profession you are. This has now become a human issue. It doesn't mean that you, as a member of a sub-community, don't have a certain gripe or right to be upset. It doesn't mean that a general mistrust of the police and the black community isn't justifiable. I don't know what to do by continuing to point back and say, yes, you're justified to feel this if you're a police officer. You're justified to feel this if you're a 21-year-old black male. You're justified to feel this if you're part of the LGBT community. If you're a Jew, if you're a Muslim. I don't know what more to do to look back and say, we've screwed this thing up well before 1776. maybe, just maybe, we have evolved as a society to where the general conscious can now look back at all the things that we screwed up in history, not just in this country, but on this planet, and say, you know what? Maybe we can move forward. Maybe there is something that can actually happen. Because the option B is just to let things ride and to continue to vote people in to a system that has failed us from day one, expecting it to make change. And then, when the police get replaced by the military and term limits are done and we're having a dictator 15 years down the line, it's you and me looking around like, well, what the hell happened? We saw this coming from the jump. And I empathize with any human being that's been empathizing over the last 3 or 4 days for whatever reason. Because it pains me to continue to get on and see all the hashtags up there and see the latest that we get out of Dallas, the latest that we get out of Minnesota. To see the aftermath of the getting worked up because I know that I got to go. And I know that in 15 seconds, I'm worried and I'm concerned that everything I said over the last 15 minutes won't even be heard. Good news, you got Mike Missinelli coming up next. Great job, Andrew Salchunas producing the show. Eitan Shander, I'm back with Jeff Mosher tomorrow morning, 10 to 2 on The Fanatic.